How's it going, everybody? It has been a really long time since you've seen me produce a new YouTube video. And the honest truth is that there just hasn't been anything that I've felt too passionate about doing a video for. YouTube's tough, and you spend a lot of time with very little reward. And I've been frustrated with how a lot of the content is produced nowadays, to be completely honest with you. It's no secret that my background in the off-road industry has been in ATVs and side-by-sides. I've worked for a lot of publications over the years, all the big name publications, and I'm still doing some work currently, and I'm going to continue to do some new stuff. We have some new projects coming our way, and I've just been frustrated with where journalism and journalists have gone. And I'm not talking about, politics or religion or anything like that. I'm talking about the stuff that I know, and the stuff that I know is off-road. I'm frustrated by it. I feel like a lot of our industry has lost its way, and they have relied on influencers to give fans of off-road or fans of anything information, and I think that's a terrible thing to do, because you're really not getting a true opinion from an influencer. You're getting the opinion of somebody who's been paid to tell you what you want to hear. And case in point is what I have behind me right here. So I was really fortunate to be able to find not only a 2025 4Runner, but probably one of the first in the country to have the hybrid engine. And I'm a Toyota guy. I've had our 2018 TRD Pro. I bought that new. It has been an awesome vehicle, and my daughter is now driving this, and pretty lucky kid, if I don't say so myself. But this has been an amazing vehicle, and I'm of the mindset that Toyota has always built good 4Runners, and when the 6th gen finally did come out, that it was going to be incredible. And so far, I'm on board with that. I'm absolutely on board with what they've done with this particular vehicle. So, a couple things. When reviews on the new Land Cruiser came out, the media beat them up, them being Toyota. And I don't think it was entirely fair, to be completely honest with you. The Land Cruiser wasn't what a lot of people thought it was going to be. If Toyota made any mistake, the biggest mistake that they made was that they called it the wrong name. Let's be honest, they should have called it the Prado. If they called it the Prado, I think there would have been no issues and nothing really to complain about, to be honest with you. But they didn't. They called it the Land Cruiser, and that's a gamble. And in the long term, it'll probably work out for them. But in the short term, I think people tried to compare the new Land Cruiser to what they had expected previously. And I'm a Land Cruiser guy. I just sold an awesome 80 series on Bring a Trailer a couple of months ago. Went to an awesome owner who deserved it more than I do. And just an amazing, amazing vehicle. The new Land Cruiser is also a very amazing vehicle. In fact, I almost bought one before I bought this. I liked the hybrid powertrain in it. For people that said it doesn't have power, they're not being honest with you. For the journalists that say it's terrible, I don't agree with them. I think they're wrong. I'm not sure what they were expecting, but I think it's everything that anybody who's an OG 4Runner guy or Land Cruiser guy expected. It's those things. It's exactly those things. Anyway, I'm getting a little off topic, but I had originally thought, I liked the Land Cruiser when it first came out, and then I was like, I'm not sure. I'm watching videos and maybe believing a little bit of the hype. I'll get to that in a moment. And then they started to appeal to me again for some reason. And I have a friend that purchased one, and I drove it, and I really enjoyed it. I really liked the way that it drove. And had an opportunity to purchase one at a almost $5,000 discount. I was going to buy a 1958 trim. It doesn't have quite everything that I would have wanted, but I was like, for $5,000 off of sticker, maybe I would consider that. And then I started talking with my local dealership, and to make a long story short, we got a 4Runner, a 2RD Sport Premium on allocation. It was built in Japan on April 9th, and it would have arrived stateside here sometime mid-June, I think, the end of May, mid-June. Anyway, fast forward a few days later, and dealership and I communicate, and lo and behold, somebody had ordered or allocated, whatever you want to call it, a TRD off-road premium hybrid. And they decided they didn't want to take delivery on it. Dealership and I chat a little bit. They ask me, am I interested? I, of course, am, and I say maybe, but what kind of a deal are you going to cut me? And, you know, there's people getting tricked into paying $5,000 and $10,000 over MSRP for these vehicles, and I don't get it. You don't need to do that. So I asked my salesperson, you know, do you think they would discount it? She said probably not. She texted me back a couple of minutes later and said they're absolutely going to discount it. And I won't get into the specifics of it, but it was a significant discount. I'm not talking $500. It was a significant discount. I don't want to get into who that dealership is and put them in a bad spot. We have a very good relationship, and I appreciated them doing that for me. And here's why. Part of the reason was when I first started looking, that's when all the trade tariff stuff started hitting the news, and values of the used cars started increasing, and they gave me a number on my trade, and things have calmed down a little bit in that regard. So each day that I'm not trading my vehicle in while they're waiting for my new one to come in, the value is going down, right? So it was in the dealership's best interest to try and put me in this one, and they knew that, and I knew that, and I knew that they knew that I knew that they knew that. You know how the story goes. And I wanted a deal, and I got a deal, and we ended up getting this. And I'm super happy that I went with the hybrid. I'll get to that in a moment. If you wonder why I keep reaching behind here, new camera, first time playing around with this one, and the screen keeps going dark on me from time to time, so I have to wake it up. Obviously I have a setting wrong, but you just have to deal with that. But in any case, people were dogging the Tacoma about the hybrid powertrain, and I gotta be honest with you, the hybrid powertrain in this is ridiculous. Like, ridiculous as in ridiculously good. It's not built for efficiency, so it doesn't do better mileage-wise. Honestly, it does better in town, but it actually does worse on the highway than the standard one. I think it does like 4 or 5 miles per gallon better around town, and like a mile per gallon less on the highway. And that's due to the increase in weight. The battery weighs something, all the componentry, it weighs something, so it loses a little bit of that in that situation. But around town on the hybrid, it's incredible. So this is a performance hybrid. So this actually has about 50 more horsepower, give or take 47 or 52, I forget, and about 150 more pound-feet of torque than the standard 4Runner. And that is substantial. And I was joking, my son, one of his high school friends, he came in to visit, and he just got a Mustang GT 350. And this 4Runner has more torque than the Mustang GT 350 does. And I'm not saying it's going to beat a GT 350. I'm not saying that. I'm saying it has more torque. And for 4Runner guys, for SUV guys, and for truck guys, torque is where it's at. This engine drives like a diesel. It feels like a diesel. It pulls low and it lugs. And I have the luxury of being able to compare the 5th gen to the 6th gen. And there's not really a comparison. You know, the 5th gen's awesome. It's bomb proof. I will never get rid of that. I hope to never get rid of it. It makes all of its power at higher RPMs. This thing makes all of its power down low. I don't know exactly the dyno chart on it, but I can feel it. My seat of the pants tells me it makes it low right off the stop sign. And the reason it's doing that is because there's basically virtually no turbo lag, because the hybrid system is feeding it power as the turbo spools up, and as the turbo spools up, the hybrid pulls back, right? And they work back and forth together with one another, and it is magical, honestly. It is a magical powertrain. I have 200 miles on mine, right? So is it going to be magical after 50,000 miles or 100,000 miles? I hope so. But we don't know that right now, and nobody knows that right now. Let's not assume that it's going to be bad. Toyota got some things wrong with the Tundra, but they figured that out. You know, they're not doing it half-heartedly like some other manufacturers do, and deny having things fixed and what have you. They're not nickel and diming the dealership and having them waste a bunch of time rebuilding stuff. They just send them a whole brand new engine, and they swap engines out. Even with some of the Tundras that there was nothing wrong with them, but because they fell into a range of engines that could potentially fail, they replaced them. I mean, how do you slight Toyota for that? I just don't know how you do that. So my advice would be, don't believe the hype. I think Public Enemy said that. And don't believe the hype about these things. Go drive one for yourself, especially if you have a 5th gen. If you have a 5th gen, there are things about it that feel very 4Runner-like, right? You sit in it, you go over a bump, you go around a corner, you're like, I know this feeling, this feels familiar. And then you put your foot in the throttle and you're like, this doesn't feel like what I'm used to. I'm used to putting my foot in the throttle and checking my watch and, you know, watching the sunset, and it's a little dramatic. There is nothing wrong with the 5th gen, but you're not going to break any acceleration contests with it. This thing's fast. Like it's truthfully fast. You get yourself into trouble. If you used to driving a 5th gen up hills, you get caught speeding with this one going up a hill. Like, it's the truth. So I think that some things are coming around too in the off-road industry. I primarily focus in ATV and side-by-side, and I have a good relationship with those manufacturers. I do some automotive as well. And, you know, word on the street is that manufacturers are starting to get tired of the influencers. Just because you're an influencer doesn't mean you know anything. Have no technical knowledge. There's exceptions, and I don't know that you call the roadkill guys, Freiberger and what the other guy's name? I forget his name. But I wouldn't consider those guys influencers. They're motorheads. Those guys are awesome. So I'm sure they've gotten some sponsorship money, but I would believe everything that those guys say. But you know, I'm not going to get into who is bad and who I don't think you should believe, but I think you should be careful about believing anybody. The OG magazine guys that would love to see print magazines come back again tomorrow, and maybe there might be some coming back. Just keep that in mind. Those are guys that have technical knowledge and who you can bank that what they are telling you is for real. I have no interest in somebody paying me to tell somebody what they want to hear. I don't want to do that. I want somebody to send me a product, let me review it fairly, and if it's great, I'll tell you that. And if it's not, I'll tell you that. I'll tell you what I like, and I'll tell you what I don't like. And I'm going to kind of end it there. We'll pick up with this with another vehicle someday. So I'm going to end this with two things. One thing that I don't like and one thing that I like. First thing that I do not like is this stupid air dam. I hate that thing. It's in an area where it's going to get ripped off if you do any sort of off-roading with it. And I guess the good news is they're supposed to be really easy to take off. I think they're 8 or 10 bolts are going to remove that. And that is absolutely going to be one of the first things that you see me do with this. I'm definitely going to remove it. Anyway, we're definitely going to remove that. Here's the thing though. There's a reason they have that on there. Like why? I'll tell you why. Why in the world would Toyota engineers leave that on there? Well, I'm going to tell you why. Because it gets better fuel economy with that on there. I've read potentially 1 to 2 miles per gallon, and I believe it. Like why would you leave that on there? Why would you put that on there if it didn't help with the efficiency? So I'm gonna run it for a little while, see what kind of miles per gallon I'm getting. I'm getting right around 19 and a half playing around in town with 200 miles on it. I don't hate that. You know, that's 16 and a half. And then I'll take it off and I'll see what kind of real world mile per gallon there is. Let me show you something that I really do like, and it's on the inside. Got fingerprints all over it. So I lied to you. I have, hold on, 271 miles on it. 19.1 miles per gallon. I love all of this. Everything that you see here is incredible. I love that, oh, hold on. I love that you can set the modes. So with this switch right here, I can go into eco or normal or sport. So I can do all those. And I love that. I'll tell you another thing that I love is this trailer plug or trailer button. I don't know 100% what this is going to do. I do know when I push that, and you look up front here, let me toggle it back off. When I push that, it brings up a trailer. And I've gone as far as choosing ATV. I'm an ATV guy. I have ATV trailers. I am going to do a video, if everybody wants to see it, on how you calibrate the trailer for this. And I don't know if it helps it back up or I don't know exactly what it does when you push the trailer button. Like, I have no idea. So I'm going to figure that out. So I like that. I think that's super, super cool. Let me show you something else that I think is cool. Oh, hey, by the way, did you realize that the engine shut off? So look, it's so quiet. And this will run around with the engine off in parking lots. I've had to do it going down the street as well too. But pretty incredible stuff. A couple other quick things. Let me back out of the trailer. So if I go, so I'm pushing these buttons right here, left and right, and then selecting with this. Right now you can see that I have it set up so that that's a turbo gauge in the left, right in the center where it says iForce. And then on this side, I have it set it up so it's miles per gallon in the center. And you have the ability to change those. So if you wanted to go over and change the one on the right, you can absolutely, hold on, let me hit the cancel button on that. You can click OK, and you can go over into here. And right now I have it set on fuel economy, but if I wanted it blank, or if I wanted it on driving support or navigation, whatever you want, audio, I'm good with all that. I want it on fuel economy. You can do the same over here. So I wanted that on turbo gauge. There's blank, auxiliary gauges. I use that in one of my other ones. There's tons of stuff. If you guys want to see a video on everything it has, let me know. Comment and I'll do that. But here's the other cool thing. So notice what's in the left and what's in the right. If I hit the right button, that's a separate gauge. So by just hitting this right button right here, now I have the turbo gauge in the left and I have the battery gauge as well. Yeah, the battery gauge on the right. So it shows how much the battery system has. And then when it's applying power, that little semicircle in there fills up with blue, and the turbo does the same thing when it spools. And then there's a third one. So my third one, I was like, when I'm towing, I'm going to have it set up with my ATV trailer so it knows which one it is. I have to change the length. That length is wrong. Like I said, I'll do a video on setting it up. And then my battery and oil pressure and temperature setting, I thought that would be good to know while I'm trailering. And you can mess around with all of those different things. Here's another thing that you can do that's kind of crazy. Let me see if I can remember how to do it. If I go into settings and I go down to meter settings, you have to hold the OK button in. And then you can go to meter style. I found this sort of by dumb luck. So I have it on tough, but you can also switch it to sporty or smart, which is definitely not me, or casual. And I'm going to go with tough for now. All right. But anyway, that's these. This one also has the auxiliary gauges, so you can hook up external lights and whatever you want. I probably won't do that, to be honest with you. It has the automatic charging for your phone here, and it's just cool. It's a really good vehicle. I love the big screen. It doesn't have tons and tons of crazy tech, but it has just enough. The screen smudges a little bit here as well too, so it is what it is. Has Apple CarPlay, and yeah, in any case, that's where we're at. I hope you enjoyed it. It's good to be back. Still touching the camera. That's about as much as I want to cover today. If you want to see more content on the 6th Gen from a guy that paid his own money to buy one, let me know, comment. If it's awesome, I'll tell you it is. and if it's not, I'll tell you it is. I think there's so much good stuff that is coming out of this, and I'm excited. I'm just excited to see some other builds, and who knows, we may have a little bit of something going on with this in a future project coming up for a publication. So have a great day, and let me know if you want to see more. Have a great day.